Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through some really fascinating sources, historical accounts, strategic insights, even timeless fables, to unearth surprising truths and, well, give you a shortcut to being truly well-informed.
That's the goal.
And today we're plunging into a topic that honestly underpins so much: success, power, even survival in the social realm: reputation. You might instinctively think of it as your personal brand, maybe. But our deep dive today reveals it's so much more than that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a potent shield against attack, for one.
Right. And a sharp weapon in conflict, too. And, well, it acts like an indispensable compass for how the world perceives and interacts with you.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to discover why your reputation truly is something to guard with your life. And crucially, how to master its intricate, often ruthless rules.
Okay, so where do we start? What's the core idea here?
Let's begin with the foundational principle that our sources make absolutely clear. Reputation isn't just a component of power. It is the very cornerstone upon which power is built.
The cornerstone. Okay.
Yeah, and this isn't some abstract philosophical notion, right? It's a fundamental truth of human interaction, deeply rooted in our psychology.
Why, though? Why is it so fundamental?
Well, it taps into our inherent, almost primal need for social navigation. Our brains are basically wired to quickly assess who to trust, who to fear, who holds influence.
Who might be a threat?
Precisely, because historically, our survival often depended on making those rapid social judgments correctly.
Makes sense.
So without a strong, carefully cultivated reputation, you are left vulnerable. You're exposed, as our sources vividly describe it, to be attacked on all sides.
Oof, that sounds pretty bleak.
It can be, but with a strong reputation, the dynamic completely shifts. You can command respect, you can instill a healthy degree of fear, even intimidate rivals into submission without ever needing to lift a finger or, raise your voice.
So it's not just about what you actually do.
Well, that matters. But more profoundly, it's about what others believe you're capable of doing. Or maybe what they perceive you have done in the past. That perception becomes reality.
So this initial impact is huge then. It's like a psychological force multiplier.
That's a great way to put it. A robust reputation, established right from the outset, can secure wins almost effortlessly. It projects this aura of capability, maybe invincibility.
And that shapes how everyone else behaves around you.
Absolutely. It's like an invisible shield, deflecting negativity, preempting challenges before they even fully form. People are just less likely to question you, less likely to challenge you.
They assume competence.
They assume competence, authority, you name it.
Okay. And guarding this shield, it's proactive, you're saying, not just reacting.
Fundamentally proactive, yes. You have to make it unassailable. This isn't about scrambling to respond to every whisper or a bit of gossip after the fact. That's too late.
Right.
It's about being acutely alert to potential attacks and, crucially, thwarting them before they even have a chance to solidify or, really manifest.
It requires constant vigilance then, like a strategy.
A constant, almost strategic vigilance. An awareness of how every action, every decision, even how perceived inaction might be interpreted by others, and how rivals might try to exploit any perceived weakness.
So you're shaping the narrative yourself.
Exactly, shaping the narrative of who you are and what you stand for long before anyone else gets a chance to write their own version.
It sounds like a constant, really high-stakes game of chess.
It can feel that way.
But not just defense, right? There's an offensive capability here, too. Our sources are quite direct about this flip side: learning to destroy your enemies.
They are direct. And it's not always about, open confrontation. Often it suggests a more insidious, manipulative, almost detached strategic approach. It involves subtly opening holes in their own reputations, basically planting seeds of doubt or revealing perceived flaws. Then you step back. You let public opinion hang them. It's chillingly effective because you leverage the power of collective perception as your primary weapon.
Wow. Letting public opinion do the dirty work.
Indeed. It's a masterclass in leveraging that very human tendency to form judgments, often irreversible ones, based on the narrative presented. Once those holes are opened, those rumors, those insinuations, those perceived weaknesses, the damage can become sort of self-inflicted.
Public discourse takes over.
It takes hold, suspicion mounts, the target's image erodes, often without you having to lift another finger. It's a powerful, almost Machiavellian tactic that underscores the immense weight society places on perceived character.
It's like a shortcut for people's brains to decide, okay, this person is weak or not trustworthy.
Precisely. And once that judgment is made, it's incredibly difficult to reverse.
This idea of reputation as a weapon, it sounds quite cutthroat.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's not just about grand battles or military strategy. It plays out in everyday life, too.
Oh, absolutely. It plays out constantly, often with devastating consequences that reveal some pretty uncomfortable truths about human nature.
Okay, give us an example. How deeply ingrained is this?
Well, to illustrate just how powerful public opinion is and how it can dictate reality, regardless of objective truth, let's look at a darkly insightful allegory from our sources, a frightful epidemic by the great fabulous Jean de La Fontaine.
La Fontaine, right. What's the setup?
The premise is quite grim, actually. Sets a stark scene. An epidemic grips the animal kingdom.
Okay.
And the creatures, in their superstition, believe it's divine punishment for their collective sins. So the lion, as the king, convenes this desperate council.
To figure out what to do.
Right. And in a show of apparent piety and moral authority, he suggests that the sinnest among them should be offered as a sacrifice to appease the heavens and lift the plague.
Oh, okay. So someone has to take the fall.
Exactly. It immediately sets up this moral arbitration, but as the story unfolds, the underlying currents of power and pre-existing reputation quickly become apparent, twisting justice into, well, a mockery.
How does that happen? Who confesses?
Well, what's truly fascinating is how the confessions and the judgments unfold. It reveals the absolute tyranny of reputation. The lion naturally goes first.
Of course.
With a booming voice, he confesses to devouring numerous sheep, even a shepherd, actions that, objectively, are grave sins, right? Brutal violence, transgression.
Definitely.
Yet because of his immense power, his established position at the top, his sin is immediately dismissed by the fawning courtiers and, frankly, terrified subjects.
They just excuse it.
They declare it a necessary act of a king, a vital part of maintaining the natural order, maybe even a public service, getting rid of a potentially troublesome shepherd.
Oh.
His power absolved him. His actions are reinterpreted as necessities.
Wow. Okay, who's next?
Then comes the fox, known, even praised for his cunning and sharp intellect.
Right, the sly fox.
He admits to minor acts of thievery, maybe a chicken here, a few grapes there, petty acts, really insignificant compared to the lion eating people or sheep. Yet, because of his clever, almost celebrated reputation for being sly, his scruples are deemed too delicate. His minor transgressions are almost celebrated as signs of his wit and resourcefulness, not condemned as sins.
So his reputation turns vice into a charming quirk.
Pretty much. But then we have the ass.
The ass, okay.
Meek, unassuming, no established reputation for power or cunning to protect him. He confesses to a truly trivial act, once eating a tiny bit of grass from a monastery's property.
Just grass. Because he was hungry.
Motivated purely by hunger, a momentary lapse. A simple, understandable act of survival, arguably far less egregious or even morally culpable than the lion's predation or the fox's theft. No violence, no significant loss.
And I have a bad feeling about this.
You should, because here's where the tale takes its chilling, inevitable turn. All the blame, all the collective guilt for the epidemic falls squarely and decisively on the ass.
No, just for eating some grass.
Just for that. The powerful wolves and bears' other eminences with their own likely misdeeds, but cloaked in authority, unite in condemnation. They declare the ass the guiltiest of them all, deserving the worst punishment.
So his minor infraction becomes the ultimate sin.
The sacrifice required. It's a stark, brutal example of how power dictates morality, or at least the perception of it.
Wow. That fable really hits hard. It dramatically illustrates this cruel, biased logic, how established reputation and power dictate judgment, regardless of the actual facts.
It's a profound example of what we might call the halo effect for the powerful, and maybe the horn effect for the vulnerable. The powerful get absolved, their actions reinterpreted positively, while the weakest are sacrificed, purely based on perception.
Based on their pre-existing reputation within that hierarchy.
Exactly. This isn't just a story. It vividly shows how public opinion can shape reality and judgment, bending it to fit preconceived notions of who's worthy and who's disposable. The facts become secondary to the narrative woven by power and perception.
It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? That truth can be so easily overridden by belief, especially belief fueled by reputation.
It is.
And as you're listening to this, You might consider moments in your own life,
Yeah.
maybe at work or in social circles, where initial perceptions or someone's established reputation dictated how their actions were interpreted.
Right. Think about how a manager known for being efficient might have a small error overlooked. Oh, just an oversight.
While the exact same error from someone seen as disorganized becomes proof of their incompetence.
Or how a successful entrepreneur's risky move is visionary, but a similar gamble by an unknown startup founder is just reckless.
These social mechanics are deeply ingrained in our daily interactions, aren't they? Constantly shaping our reality.
Constantly.
That compelling, if maybe a little bleak, story about perception leads us directly to another legendary figure who absolutely mastered reputation as a strategic weapon.
Ah, yes. We're moving from fables to historical military genius now.
To China's War of the Three Kingdoms, a period just rife with strategic brilliance, and a figure so awe-inspiring he was known as the Sleeping Dragon.
Indeed. We're talking about General Zhuge Liang. His story is just a powerful testament to the strategic application of reputation. It shows how the perception of power can be even more effective than actual power itself.
Psychological amplification, you called it.
At its finest.
Okay, set the scene for us. It sounds dramatic.
It is dramatic. The sources paint this picture. General Zhuge Liang, leading the Shu Kingdom forces, finds himself in a truly, truly hopeless situation.
Okay.
He's resting in a small, undefended town with only about 100 soldiers. He'd sent his main army off somewhere else. Suddenly, alarming news. An enemy force. Over 150,000 troops.
150,000 against 100.
Exactly. Led by his formidable rival, Sima Yi is rapidly approaching. The disparity is just massive. Retreat is impossible. Battle is suicide. It really seems like the end for Liang.
So what does he do? Panic.
What Liang does next is utterly illogical, almost suicidal, if you didn't know his reputation for unparalleled cunning. Okay.
Without wasting a moment, he orders his tiny group of soldiers to take down their flags, throw open the city gates, and hide completely out of sight.
Open the gates. But that's inviting them in.
It seems that way. Then, in an act of just breathtaking audacity, he himself takes a highly visible seat on the most prominent part of the city wall, dressed in a serene Taoist robe.
Just sitting there.
Sitting there. He lights incense deliberately, slowly strums his lute, and begins to chant. As this vast enemy army, this endless phalanx of soldiers, comes into full view, sweeping towards the open gates, he pretends not to even notice them. Continues his music, his chanting. A picture of absolute calm amidst impending doom.
The sheer nerve. That's astounding.
And this is precisely where Liang's meticulously cultivated reputation comes into play. It acts as a decisive invisible force. As Sima Yi's army reaches the town gates, Sima Yi instantly recognizes Liang on the wall.
He knows who he is.
Oh, yes. And despite his soldiers itching to pour into the seemingly undefended open town, Sima Yi hesitates. He holds them back, studying Liang intensely. What's going through his head?
He interprets the entire scene as an elaborate game of intimidation, a taunt, a deliberate trap laid by the legendary Sleeping Dragon. His mind races. This guy is daring me to walk into a trap. Why else be so calm? Why are the gates open? His past experiences with Liang's cunning create this cognitive bias he expects a trick.
Even though it looks like Liang is helpless.
The sources say that for a fleeting moment, Sima Yi might have thought, maybe he is alone. Maybe this is desperation. A tempting possibility. But so great was his fear of Liang, his established reputation for being the cleverest man in China, one who always had a trick up his sleeve, that this possibility was immediately dismissed. The weight of Liang's reputation completely overshadowed the visual evidence of vulnerability.
The potential cost of being wrong was too high.
Exactly. The cost of misjudging Liang, of falling into one of his infamous traps, was simply too high to risk. It was a high-stakes psychological calculus, and Liang's reputation tipped the scales decisively.
So what was the outcome? Did Sima Yi attack?
The outcome is truly legendary. It's a testament to perception over brute force. Sima Yi, completely overcome by the psychological power of Liang's reputation, orders an immediate and speedy retreat.
An entire army, 150,000 troops, turned back.
Turned back without a single arrow being fired, without a single casualty on Liang's side. A victory achieved purely by the aura of one man's reputation.
Wow.
It demonstrates how a carefully constructed public image can act as this force multiplier, creating an almost magical effect on adversaries, making them doubt their own senses, their own capabilities. It's the ultimate example of winning without fighting. Pure psychological dominance.
So this wasn't just a lucky break then. This was the result of years of calculated reputation building.
Absolutely not luck. It was the culmination.
But the genius is how he built it. Right?
Yeah.
How did he get this almost supernatural reputation? It wasn't accidental.
Not at all. It was a series of brilliant, often deceptive maneuvers that cemented his image. Our sources give specific examples. Once, he instantly recognized a false deserter trying to infiltrate his camp, a common military ploy.
Okay, so he saw through the trick.
He saw through it, but instead of just executing the guy, Liang, with incredible foresight, turned him into a double agent.
Yeah.
Who then fed precisely crafted false information back to the enemy, allowing Liang to win battle after battle by luring them into ambushes or, unexpected tactical disadvantages.
Clever. Who else?
He also, in another instance, stole a military seal from some unwitting official and used it to create false documents. These forged orders, bearing the enemy's own authority, were then used to dispatch his opponent's troops to distant, irrelevant locations, basically scattering their forces.
Dividing and conquering without a fight.
Exactly. Once those troops were dispersed and out of position, Liang was able to capture 3 cities without a fight, controlling a vital corridor of the enemy kingdom.
That's brilliant. Any others?
And in yet another brilliant maneuver, he tricked an enemy leader into believing one of their own best generals was actually a traitor by planting seemingly incriminating evidence. This accusation, fueled by the enemy's own paranoia, forced that general to flee, and left with no other option, he ended up joining forces with Liang.
Wow. So these weren't just isolated incidents.
Not at all. They were part of a deliberate, consistent pattern of outsmarting his opponents at every turn.
So it wasn't just about winning battles. Liang carefully cultivated this reputation, this image of being the cleverest man in China, one who always had a trick up his sleeve.
Precisely. This consistent, undeniable demonstration of unparalleled cunning and strategic genius meant that his reputation itself struck fear into his enemy. It acted as a weapon just as powerful as any weapon in his arsenal.
It shows that reputation isn't just talk, is it? It's a culmination of your most striking, memorable, strategically deployed actions. He made himself an archetype of tactical brilliance.
He really did. And what's fascinating here is that the sources also connect this back to a fundamental aspect of human nature. They remind us of a quote from the Roman statesman Cicero.
Cicero, what did he say?
He said, "Even those who argue against fame still want the books they write against it to bear their name in the title and hope to become famous for despising it."
Huh. That's quite insightful. It underscores the inherent human value placed on reputation, on fame.
Absolutely. People will guard their own fame almost above all else, seeing it as an extension of their identity, their legacy. It highlights how deeply ingrained this drive for recognition is in our psychology.
Which makes the idea of, sharing our fame or giving away our reputation seem almost unnatural.
Extremely difficult, almost unnatural for many. It's a core human currency, you could say.
Okay, so from ancient generals wielding reputation like a weapon, let's jump forward, to 19th century impresarios. The stakes seem surprisingly similar, don't they? Building and destroying reputations.
The context changes, the tactics adapt, but the fundamental game remains the same.
And our next deep dive introduces a name synonymous with showmanship, audacity, and the art of public perception. P.T. Barnum, and his early, really audacious fight for fame and control.
Barnum. His story is a perfect illustration of how reputation, or, crucially, the lack of it, can dictate opportunities, and how a determined individual, even from a position of relative weakness, can actively manipulate perceptions and narratives to achieve their most ambitious goals.
A masterclass in exploiting social dynamics, basically.
You could say that.
So what was Barnum's initial goal?
It was clear, almost audacious for a man of his means at the time, establishing himself as America's premier showman by purchasing the American Museum in Manhattan.
The American Museum. Okay. What was his vision?
He envisioned transforming it into this vibrant collection of curiosities that would secure his fame and fortune. The problem.
Let me guess. Money.
Exactly. He had no money for the $15,000 asking price, a colossal sum for him then, certainly not in cash. Yet through sheer persuasive force, he somehow managed to secure a verbal agreement with the museum owners.
How? Without cash?
A complex deal. Dozens of guarantees, references, promises, basically anything but cash up front.
Okay, so he thought he had it.
But at the very last minute, the principal partner changed his mind. The museum was sold to the directors of Peale's Museum, a more established institution.
Ouch. Why the change of heart?
Barnum was, understandably, infuriated, But the partners' explanation was stark, brutally honest. Business was business. The museum had been sold to Peels because Peels had a reputation and Barnum had none.
Wow. A brutal awakening to the power of reputation.
A brutal awakening, exactly, to the concrete, tangible power of an established public image and the crippling disadvantage of lacking one.
So what did Barnum do? Just accept it?
Not Barnum. This crushing rejection spurred him to immediate, decisive, and frankly, pretty ruthless action. He decided that if he had no reputation to bank on, his only recourse was to actively ruin the reputation of Peels.
Fight fire with fire, or lack of fire with fire.
Okay, so this is his first tactic. Sowing doubt.
Sowing doubt. He launched this relentless, targeted letter-writing campaign in the newspapers, subtly at first, but with clear and devastating intent.
What exactly does that mean, sowing doubt? What did he write? He didn't lament his loss, he attacked directly. He crafted letters that, while not necessarily making provable lies, were filled with insinuations designed to undermine Peels.
Like what?
He called the owners broken-down bank directors who, he asserted, had absolutely no idea how to run a museum or entertain the public, implying they were out of their depth, only interested in profit.
Undermining their competence.
Exactly. And he warned the public against buying Peel stock, suggesting their business's recent purchase of another museum on top of the American Museum would inevitably spread its resources thin, making it financially unstable and likely to fail.
So not outright lies, but carefully placed suggestions to create unease.
Precisely. And this highlights the immense, almost insidious power of doubt as a weapon. Once those insidious rumors are out there, opponents like Peels faced a horrible dilemma.
What dilemma?
Deny them vehemently. Well, a layer of suspicion inevitably remains. Why are they defending themselves so desperately? Maybe there's some truth to it. The very act of denial can inadvertently amplify the rumor.
Right, and if they ignore them?
The doubts, unrefuted, only grow stronger. They take root in the public consciousness. This tactic, as our sources explain, is perfect for those who have no reputation of their own to work from.
Because they have less to lose.
Exactly. They're not risking a pristine image. They're building one amidst the chaos they create.
And did it work for Barnum?
Perfectly. Peel's stock plummeted. The American Museum owners reneged on their deal with Peels, their confidence completely shaken, and ultimately they sold the entire enterprise to Barnum for a fraction of the original asking price.
Wow. He got the museum after all by destroying their reputation.
He did. But the rivalry and the battle of reputations didn't end there.
Oh, what happened next?
Years later, Peels tried to recover. They attempted to build a new reputation for highbrow entertainment, specifically with mesmeric hypnotic performances, which were gaining popularity then.
Trying to position themselves as more sophisticated than Barnum.
Exactly. They subtly attacked Barnum by promoting their shows as more scientific, intellectual, refined than his vulgar offerings, trying to be the superior cultural institution.
And Barnum, he wasn't going to let that stand, was he?
Not a chance. Ever the brilliant showman, he devised a dazzling counterattack, employing his second tactic: ridicule.
Ridicule. How did he do that?
He organized a rival mesmeric performance designed to be an outright parody. He made this grand show of apparently putting a little girl into a trance with all the dramatic flair he was known for.
Okay.
Then he tried to hypnotize members of the audience, but no matter how hard he tried, nobody fell under his spell. Instead, people started laughing, openly mocking his attempts, completely breaking that serious atmosphere needed for hypnotism.
He turned it into a comedy show.
Pretty much. Then came the truly shocking and hilariously theatrical detail. Barnum announced that to prove the little girl's trance was genuinely real, he would cut off one of her fingers without her even noticing.
Wait, he wouldn't, actually.
Of course not. But as he dramatically sharpened the knife, the little girl's eyes popped open in supposed terror, and she promptly ran away, to the audience's delight, exposing the entire act as a complete charade.
That's brilliant. Utterly undermining the seriousness of mesmerism itself.
The impact was immediate and devastating. Barnum repeated this and similar parodies for weeks. No one could take Peel's supposedly serious, high-minded mesmeric show seriously anymore. The whole concept had been thoroughly discredited and made ridiculous.
So Peel's attendance dropped.
Plummeted. Within a few weeks, Peel's museum closed permanently. Its reputation for serious entertainment was irrevocably shattered.
And this demonstrates the power of ridicule, especially when you already have some standing.
Exactly. Once you have a solid base of respect to yourself, gentle barbs and mockery delivered from a position of strength are often far more effective than outright slander.
Why is that?
They suggest a strong enough sense of your own worth to enjoy a good laugh at your rival's expense. It makes you seem like a harmless entertainer, even as you effectively poke irreparable holes in their reputation. It's psychological warfare disguised as entertainment.
So the result for Peels was permanent closure. Their reputation never recovered.
Never recovered. It's a testament to the lasting damage of ridicule.
While Barnum, through these audacious, clever maneuvers, not only got his museum, but solidified his own image for audacity and consummate showmanship that lasted his entire life.
He certainly did.
It's almost as if, as Friedrich Nietzsche famously put it, it is easier to cope with a bad conscience than with a bad reputation.
That quote really resonates here, doesn't it? The internal turmoil of guilt might be bad, but the external condemnation of others, that bad reputation, can be far more burdensome, far more damaging in the long run.
These stories, Lang's and Barnum's, they really highlight a fundamental, maybe uncomfortable truth about how we interact, don't they?
They do. That we overwhelmingly judge people based on appearances. It's almost unavoidable in how we navigate the complex social world.
We prefer to ignore what our sources call the unknowableness of other people. The fact we can never truly know what's inside someone else's head.
Exactly. Instead, we rely on what is most visible to our eyes: clothes, gestures, words, actions. This reliance on external cues, observable patterns, is paramount in the social realm. It allows us to make rapid judgments, predictions, however flawed they might be sometimes.
It's a cognitive shortcut.
A powerful one.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener, navigating this dangerous game of appearances, as the source puts it?
Well, your reputation in this landscape becomes your primary defense. It serves as a kind of carefully crafted smokescreen, maybe, or a curated narrative.
Strategically distracting the probing eyes of others from knowing what you are really like.
Exactly, and crucially, giving you a significant degree of control over how the world judges you, which is a powerful position to be in.
It lets you shape your own narrative, instead of having it dictated by others or just by chance. It defines the frame through which all your actions get interpreted.
Absolutely. Reputation truly has a power like magic, as one source says. With one stroke of its invisible wand, it can double your strength, making your efforts twice as effective, your presence twice as impactful.
Or the opposite.
Or conversely, it can send people scurrying away from you, isolating you, diminishing your influence. This is because the exact same deeds appear brilliant or dreadful, entirely based on the pre-existing reputation of the doer.
So perception changes based on who's doing the action.
Completely. This fluidity of perception based on established judgments is a key insight. Reality is often less important than the lens through which it's viewed.
Okay, let's illustrate that. There's another striking Chinese anecdote in the sources, right? About Mitsuxia.
Ah, yes, Mitsuxia. A perfect example of this dramatic, almost alarming shift in perception.
So initially, he was in the Wei Kingdom, renowned for his supreme civility and graciousness. A great reputation.
Yes, this positive image made him the ruler's absolute favorite. Practically untouchable, enveloped in this unassailable positive aura.
And the sources give two instances where his actions, which normally might be condemned, were seen positively because of this.
That's right. First, he broke a strict law by riding the royal coach without permission to visit his sick mother. A capital offense, apparently.
So he should have been in big trouble.
You'd think. But when the ruler found out, instead of punishing him, he praised his dutifulness. He famously said, "How dutiful is Mitsuxia." For his mother's sake, he even forgot that he was committing a crime, making him liable to lose his feet.
His affection was seen as a virtue, overriding the crime.
Exactly. And the second instance.
They were strolling in an orchard. Mitsuxia started eating a peach, couldn't finish it, and, well, in a gesture that would normally seem pretty gross and disrespectful.
He gave the ruler the other half to eat.
Right, and the ruler.
Completely charmed by Mitsuxia's sterling reputation and his own affection, he remarked, "You love me so much that you would even forget your own saliva taste and let me eat the rest of the peach."
So again, actions that seem questionable are transformed into virtues because of his reputation.
Purely because of the positive reputation that preceded and surrounded him.
Right. There's a shift, isn't there? It doesn't last.
It doesn't. The shift is stark and chilling. Later, envious courtiers, tirelessly and subtly spreading word that Mitsuxia was actually devious, arrogant, self-serving, they successfully damaged his once unassailable reputation.
They didn't invent new facts, did they? They just reframe things.
Exactly. They reframed existing facts. And suddenly, the exact same actions were reinterpreted negatively by the ruler, whose affection was now poisoned by this new narrative.
So the coach incident
Became, "This fellow once rode in my coach under pretense of my order," now seen as brazen deception, arrogant lawbreaking.
and sharing the peach.
Once a sign of love, now became a gross, disrespectful act, an insult to the ruler. The narrative had completely flipped. The facts were secondary to the new negative perception.
The conclusion is chilling then. For the same actions that had charmed the ruler when he was the favorite, Mitsushita now had to suffer the penalties.
His fate, literally, depended solely on the strength of his reputation, not on the inherent nature of his deeds. It's a profound example of how fluid perception can be, how quickly public favor can turn, and how a reputation can be utterly weaponized against you.
It shows how human perception, once swayed, just constructs an entirely new reality around someone. Facts become subservient to narrative.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this. So, given this immense power, that reputation can be your shield or your downfall. How do you build such a potent force? How do you do it right?
Well, our sources emphasize starting with one outstanding quality, whether it's generosity or honesty or cunning.
Just one. Not trying to be good at everything.
Right. Trying to be good at everything can dilute your image. Focus on cultivating a distinctive, singular trait that sets you apart and gets other people to talk about you. It provides a clear, memorable anchor for your public identity.
A way for people to quickly categorize and understand you. Reduces their cognitive load, maybe.
Something like that. And the key then is making that singular quality known to as many people as possible. But, and this is crucial, do it subtly and strategically.
Not overtly manufactured.
Exactly. Build it slowly and with a firm foundation, ensuring it's perceived as organic and authentic, not desperate. You demonstrate this quality consistently through your actions, allowing others to observe and draw their own conclusions.
And then you watch as it spreads like wildfire.
Carried by word of mouth, by observation, solidifying the image you want to project as your undeniable truth.
And the benefits of doing this successfully are immense.
Immense. A solid reputation, our sources tell us, increases your presence and exaggerates your strengths without your having to spend much energy.
Your influence expands beyond your direct actions. It projects competence before you even start.
Precisely. It precedes you into any room or situation. It can also create an aura around you that will instill respect, even fear, making others think twice before crossing you.
Is there a good example of that? The fear aspect.
A perfect military example is General Erwin Rommel, the German general in WWII.
Rommel, the desert fox.
Yeah, right. Fighting in North Africa, his meticulously cultivated reputation for cunning and for deceptive maneuvering, for always being one step ahead, pulling off the impossible, it struck terror into everyone who faced him, especially the British.
Even when he was outnumbered.
Even when his actual forces were depleted, outnumbered 5-1 by British tanks, apparently entire cities would be evacuated at the news of his approach.
Just his name caused fear and retreat.
His name alone, the sheer idea of Rommel, his reputation magnified his strength far beyond his material resources.
It's just like they say, isn't it? Your reputation inevitably precedes you.
It does. And if it inspires respect, like Rommel's did, a lot of your work is done for you before you arrive on the scene or utter a single word.
Half the psychological battle is won already. Makes your efforts vastly more effective. Your opponents are already cautious, apprehensive.
Exactly. And there's a diplomatic example, too. Henry Kissinger.
Kissinger's shuttle diplomacy in the 70s.
Yes. Its success rested heavily on his reputation for ironing out differences. His perceived ability to bridge seemingly unbridgeable divides to find common ground. It created an expectation that he would succeed.
So people didn't want to be the ones seen as unreasonable.
Precisely. No one wanted to be seen as so unreasonable that Kissinger could not sway him. To refuse Kissinger was to admit your own intractability, which was politically damaging.
It created a self-fulfilling prophecy.
A powerful one. A peace treaty seemed like a fait accompli as soon as Kissinger's name became involved in the negotiations. His reputation generated immense leverage.
So what's fascinating here is that the advice is to keep it simple. Make your reputation simple and base it on one sterling quality.
Be it efficiency, say, or seductiveness. That single clear quality becomes a powerful calling card. It instantly announces your presence and often places others under a certain spell, guiding their initial interactions.
It simplifies you into a potent, understandable archetype. Makes you memorable, impactful.
Right.
And there's that interesting, almost paradoxical twist, too. A reputation for honesty will allow you to practice all manner of deception more easily.
It sounds counterintuitive, but yes. Because you're perceived as trustworthy, people are far less likely to question your motives or scrutinize your actions closely. It creates a powerful blind spot.
Like Casanova, using his reputation as a great seducer.
Even Casanova used his reputation as a great seducer to pave the way for his future conquests. Apparently, women were immensely curious, wanted to discover for themselves what had made him so romantically successful.
So his reputation did half the work for him, creating interest and anticipation.
Effectively, yes. It's a nuanced but critical point. A strong, positive reputation can sometimes create this powerful cognitive bias in others. An assumption you'll always act according to that image, even when actions might suggest otherwise. It's subtle but potent influence. Your past grants you a kind of immunity in the present.
Okay, but what if things go wrong? What if your reputation is already stained? Maybe by past failures, scandals, negative perceptions. It seems incredibly hard to just erase that by yourself.
It is incredibly hard. People remember perceptions are sticky. You can't just wish it away or declare a new beginning.
So what do the sources advise then?
In such challenging cases, they advise a strategic use of associative power. Associate with someone whose image counteracts your own, using their good name to whitewash and elevate yours.
A strategic alliance of reputations, borrowing credibility.
A kind of social alchemy, yes. And who pops up again as an example?
Let me guess. P.T. Barnum.
Our friend Barnum. To clean up his image, which had become associated with promoting vulgar entertainment, circuses, oddities, things seen as lowbrow, he made a brilliant move.
What did he do?
He brought the acclaimed European opera singer Jenny Lind, the Swedish Nightingale, to America for a tour.
Jenny Lind, huge star, very high class.
Exactly. Her stellar high-class reputation for incredible talent and moral purity greatly enhanced his own image. It associated him with culture, refinement, artistic patronage. Not just freak shows, it was a whitewashing operation.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Any other examples of this whitewashing?
Yes, a great historical parallel. The notorious robber barons in 19th century America, figures like J.P. Morgan, Henry Clay Frick.
Known for being ruthless in business, exploiting labor.
Yeah.
Hugely unpopular with many.
Right. Known for cruelty and mean-spiritedness, facing immense public resentment. So, to soften their image, they didn't fundamentally change their business practices.
What did they do instead?
They focused on collecting art, amassing vast, prestigious collections. By associating their names permanently with those of Da Vinci and Rembrandt, they used the cultural prestige of great art to overshadow their unpleasant reputations.
Effectively whitewashing their public personas, transforming themselves into sophisticated philanthropists, patrons of beauty.
In the public eye, yes. It's a testament to the power of deliberate strategic association.
So reputation is indeed a treasure to be carefully collected and hoarded.
It absolutely is, and especially when you're first establishing it, when it's still fragile, you must protect it strictly, anticipating all attacks on it.
Constant vigilance, strategic mindset, preemptively countering threats.
But once it's solid, once your reputation is firmly established, the advice changes, doesn't it?
Significantly, you do not let yourself get angry or defensive at the slanderous comments of your enemies. That reveals insecurity, not confidence in your reputation.
So getting drawn into fights actually weakens you. It can. Instead, the advice is to take the high road and never appear desperate in your self-defense. A truly powerful reputation doesn't need constant validation or furious rebuttals. It speaks for itself. Your calm demeanor reinforces its strength. Descending into petty squabbles only diminishes your stature.
Okay, but what about attacking someone else's reputation? The sources say that's a potent weapon.
It is potent, particularly when you have less power than he does.
Why then?
Because the opponent in that scenario has much more to lose in terms of their established standing, public goodwill. And your thus far small reputation gives him a small target for any return fire. It's asymmetrical warfare, allowing the underdog to chip away at a powerful rival.
Barnum used this brilliantly early on, didn't he? Against Peels, when he had little to lose.
He did. But, crucially, our sources warn that this tactic must be practiced with skill. You must not seem to engage in petty vengeance.
Ah, there's a catch.
A big one. If you do not break your enemy's reputation cleverly, you will inadvertently ruin your own. You risk appearing malicious, vindictive, ungracious. It requires a delicate touch, avoiding the perception of being a small-minded aggressor.
Okay, so there are risks. Is there a story that highlights these risks when attacks go too far?
Oh, yes. Here's where it gets really interesting, actually. We examine a cautionary tale that highlights the immense risks of overzealous attacks on reputation. The infamous Edison-Tesla fiasco, often called the War of Currents.
Edison versus Tesla. DC versus AC power.
Exactly. Thomas Edison, the celebrated inventor, believed firmly in direct current, DC. He'd invested heavily in it. When Nikola Tesla, his brilliant former employee, seemed to succeed with alternating current, AC, which was more efficient for long-distance transmission, Edison was furious.
He saw AC as a threat to his empire.
A direct threat. So he set out to ruin Tesla's reputation, trying to make the public believe AC was inherently unsafe and Tesla was irresponsible for promoting it.
And his methods were
Extreme. Shocking, deeply unethical, and incredibly public. He captured all kinds of household pets, dogs, cats, even an elephant, reportedly, and electrocuted them to death with an AC current in public demonstrations, designed purely to terrify people and associate AC with agonizing death.
That's horrifying.
And when even those gruesome spectacles weren't enough, he went further. In 1890, he actively campaigned for and arranged the world's first execution by electrocution in New York State.
Using AC current specifically.
Specifically using AC, yes. Trying to brand it as the death current.
But it backfired, didn't it?
Horribly. It became a ghastly public relations disaster for Edison himself. See, his prior experiments were on small creatures. He fundamentally misunderstood the application for a human. The charge used for the execution was too weak.
Oh, no.
The condemned man was only half killed. The awful spectacle required the procedure to be repeated. It was described as perhaps the country's cruelest state-authorized execution, a public nightmare.
Not for Tesla, but for the technology Edison was trying to condemn.
Exactly. The public's horror wasn't directed at AC, but at the sheer brutality of the method and, by extension, at Edison's vengeful campaign.
So the critical lesson here.
While Edison's name has certainly survived as a great inventor, at the time his campaign damaged his own reputation more than Tesla's. He eventually backed off from these extreme tactics, having inflicted more harm on himself than his rival.
It's a prime example of why you should never go too far in attacks like these.
Absolutely. Because such vengeful, cruel actions will draw more attention to your own vengefulness than to the person you are slandering. The backlash can be severe, hurting the attacker's moral standing and reputation far more than the target's. It's the difference between being seen as a shrewd competitor and, well, a cruel fanatic.
So what does this mean for you? When your own reputation is solid, established, respected, how should you handle rivals then?
Our sources suggest you use subtler tactics, such as satire and ridicule, to weaken opponents.
Like Barnum's second tactic against Peel's.
Exactly. This allows you to undermine them while simultaneously enhancing your own image, making you appear like a charming rogue, perhaps, rather than a bitter or desperate adversary.
The imagery is powerful. The mighty lion toys with the mouse that crosses his path. Any other reaction would mar his fearsome reputation.
It's about maintaining your dignity, your gravitas, your superior position, even as you playfully yet effectively dismantle your rival's credibility.
This brings us back to that vivid image from the sources. Your reputation is like a mine full of diamonds and rubies.
A compelling metaphor, isn't it? You dug for it, you found it, your social wealth is now assured. But it's not a passive treasure.
You have to guard it with your life.
Because robbers and thieves will appear from all sides, eager to diminish or steal your luster, to reframe your narrative for their own gain. And crucially, it's not a one-time effort.
You must constantly renew it. Time will diminish the jewel's luster and bury them from sight.
It requires perpetual maintenance, strategic protection, deliberate polishing to keep its brilliance shining.
And as Baldassare Castiglione, the Renaissance courtier, so astutely reminds us, a courtier should always bolster up his inherent worth with skill and cunning and ensure that whenever he has to go where he is a stranger, he is preceded by a good reputation.
Leverage that initial perception, that pre-existing narrative, because it fosters unshakable belief in a man's worth even before he's uttered a word or performed a deed in that new environment. It opens doors, disarms skeptics before you even enter the room.
So this principle, this law of reputation, is there any way around it? Any reversal?
This is a rare instance, according to our sources, where a law of power has no possible reversal. Reputation is critical. There are no exceptions to this law.
You can't opt out.
You cannot opt out. You are always perceived, and that perception always has consequences, whether you like it or not.
Even if you cultivate a reputation for something negative, like insolence and arrogance, like Oscar Wilde maybe, that can still be a valuable image.
If managed strategically, yes. The point isn't necessarily to be universally beloved, but to be the master of how you are perceived, to control the narrative, even if that narrative is provocative or challenging.
Because we have to live in society.
We must live in society, and in society we inevitably depend on the opinions of others. To disregard this fundamental truth, to assume your actions alone speak for themselves without considering perception, is essentially to lose control.
By not caring how you are perceived, you let others decide this for you.
And that choice, made by others, can have profound, often detrimental consequences on your fate, your influence, your ability to achieve your goals.
So the ultimate call to action for you, our listener, is pretty clear then. Direct, powerful.
Do the master of your fate.
And also of your reputation. Take conscious, deliberate control over how you are seen and understood in the world, because that control is a key to unlocking your power.
Well said.
Wow. That was truly a deep dive into the strategic, the psychological landscape of reputation.
It really covers a lot of ground.
From the ancient battlefields, where Zhuge Liang's name alone turned back entire armies. Demonstrating the overwhelming power of perceived strength.
Incredible story.
To the cutthroat showmanship of P.T. Barnum, who built his empire by masterfully demolishing others' credibility.
A very different kind of battlefield.
And even the unfortunate scientific rivalry of Edison and Tesla, which served as such a stark cautionary tale of how reckless attacks can just completely backfire.
A crucial lesson in restraint.
Through all of it, one thing is abundantly clear. Your reputation isn't just some abstract idea, is it? It's a tangible, dynamic force that dictates your power, your influence, and really your entire path in the world.
It is, as our sources state so eloquently, a treasure to be guarded with your life and meticulously renewed with conscious effort.
So here's a provocative thought for you to maybe mull over as you go about your day. If reputation is so entirely about how others perceive us, and if, as our sources suggest, people are fundamentally mysterious and unfathomable to each other, we can never truly know another's inner self. How much of our true self can ever really escape the influence of the meticulously constructed public self we present to the world?
That's a deep question.
What aspects of your own reputation are you actively building and guarding right now? And what might you be leaving to chance, allowing others to define for you? Think about that. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.